Imagine being a kid watching your favorite cartoons like Scooby Doo and Tom and Jerry. You're enjoying them without thinking too deeply of them. Then years later, you watch the same TV show only to realize that this had some darker secrets behind all of these cartoon shows. That's right, we are going to be talking about the darkest cartoon theories. Hello, my name is Augustus and I make morbid documentaries on this channel. I feel like I'm a little bit too serious for this channel. I feel like I should loosen my grip a little bit. Anyways, before we start, please do subscribe as we are trying to reach 500 subscribers before the end of the year. Thank you, and let's get started. Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Economic Depression. Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Was the first version of the very famous Scooby Doo cartoon that was created by Hanna-Barbera. The show first aired on September 13th, 1969 on CBS as a part of its Saturday morning cartoon lineup, with each episode lasting about half an hour. It ran for about 2 seasons, during with a total of 25 episodes during the 1960s and 1970s, and 8 more in the 1970s. Even after the original run ended, the series continued to be broadcasted on many different television channels over the years, allowing new generation of viewers to discover the mystery-solving adventures of Scooby-Doo and the gang. One fan theory suggests that the original Scooby-Doo takes place during a major economic depression. In this situation, the economy would have collapsed so badly that many people lost their jobs and struggled to survive. Because of this, even well-educated or respected people like scientists, business owners, or celebrities might have turned to crime in order for them to make money. According to the theory, these criminals dressed up as monsters to hide their real identity and scare people away from the places where they were committing crimes. This idea also explains why the show often takes place in abandoned buildings, empty amusement parks, and forgotten towns. Fans believe those locations could represent areas that were left behind during a difficult economic period. Inspector Gadget, Claw is Gadget. Inspector Gadget is an American animated television series that first premiered in 1983 and became the first show in the Inspector Gadget franchise. It was created by DIC Entertainment in collaboration with Lexington Broadcast Services with Bobot Entertainment. The series aired from 1983 to 1986 with the pilot episode released in 1982. A Christmas special was later released in 1992. The show follows the adventures of a cyborg detective who uses gadgets built into his body to stop criminals. Personally, I have never watched this show growing up, but honestly, this looks really interesting and I might even watch it now. This theory completely changes the way we see the show Inspector Gadget. It suggests that Dr. Claw might actually be the real Inspector Gadget. According to this idea, the original Inspector Gadget was involved in a huge explosion that nearly killed him. After the accident, his niece Penny was heartbroken and decided to rebuild her uncle as the robotic version of himself, creating the Inspector Gadget we see in this show. Meanwhile, the real Gadget survived but became Dr. Claw. This could explain why Claw never shows his face and why he often escapes instead of seriously hurting Penny. Some fans think he simply wants to destroy the robotic replacement of himself. King of the Hill, Bill is Bobby's father. This show you probably have seen because of the enormous amount of memes that are on TikTok right now. But if you still got no idea what the show could even be about, here is a synopsis. King of the Hill depicts the life and times of Hank Hill. His family and their neighbors in the fictional suburb of Arlen, Texas, the heartland of America. A hardworking, loyal family man and proud Texan, Hank always strives to be the voice of common sense and reason. After years away, Hank and Peggy Hill return to a changed America, while Bobby balances owning a restaurant and enjoying life as a young adult. A long-running fan theory about King of the Hill suggests that Bill Dotterive might secretly be Bobby Hill's real father. At first glance, this might sound kinda strange, but some fans believe that there might be small hints throughout the show. For example, Bobby looks and behaves very differently from his supposed father, Hank Hill. While Hank is serious and traditional, Bobby is more of a goofy and expressive type. On top of that, Bobby and Bill often spend time together and seem to share a closer emotional bond. The show also mentions that Hank once had a medical condition that could have made it difficult for him to have children. Because of these clues, some fans think Bill could actually be Bobby's biological father. The Flintstones. The Flintstones live in the future. The Flintstones were the modern Stone Age family. Residing in Bedrock, Fred Flintstone worked an unsatisfying quarry job, but returned home to lovely wife Wilma and eventually daughter Pebbles. Fred, a big fan of golf and bowling, also enjoyed bullying neighbor Barney Rubble, while Barney's saucy wife Betty was best friends with Wilma. During the show's run, Barney and Betty would adopt an unnaturally strong son, Bam Bam, who would become friends with little Pebbles. The Flintstones, heavily inspired by the Honeymooners, convinced a generation of children that dinosaurs and humans occupy the planet at the same time. Most people assume that the Flintstones takes place during a prehistoric Stone Age. However, one interesting theory suggests that the show might actually be set far in the future instead of the past. Fans point to the crossover movie The Jetsons Meet the Flintstones, where the futuristic Jetsons meet the Flintstones. In this theory, the Earth may have experienced a nuclear disaster that destroyed modern civilization. Humans living in advanced cities like the characters in the Jetsons escape by moving into floating cities in the sky. Meanwhile, people who remain in the ground had to rebuild society from scratch, creating a primitive world that looks like the Stone Age. Tom and Jerry, World War II propaganda. Tom and Jerry is usually seen as a simple cartoon about a cat chasing a mouse. However, unusual theories suggest that the characters represent countries involving in the World War II. According to this idea, Tom represents the British soldiers known as Tommies, while Jerry represents the Germans, sometimes called Jerrys. The constant battle between the two characters could symbolically represent the rivalry between the countries during the early years of the war. While this theory is probably a stretch, it shows how fans sometimes interpret cartoons in ways that connect them to real historical events. Ed, Ed, and Eddie. Peach Creek is purgatory. Like any boys trying to survive their adolescence, Ed, and Eddie are as clueless about girls as everything else. Eddie may not be brains of the trio, but he's the idea guy, always scheming and dragging his buddies along. Ed, and Eddie go on summertime adventures involving part-time jobs, tree houses, and of course, girls. One of the darkest theories about Ed, and Eddie suggests that the children in the show are actually trapped in purgatory, a place between life and afterlife. Fans started discussing this theory because the show rarely shows any adults, especially the characters' parents. According to the theory, each child may have died at a different time in history and is now stuck in the same neighborhood forever. Their personalities and interests might reflect the time period they originally lived in. For example, some fans believe Eddie's obsession with money connects to the Great Depression, while other characters' behavior may represent different historical eras. Donald Duck. Donald Duck has PTSD. Donald Duck is famous for his explosive temper and frequent angry outbursts. While most viewers see this as just a part of his comedic personality, one theory suggests that his anger could actually be related to post traumatic stress disorder. During World War II, Disney produced several propaganda cartoons featuring Donald Duck fighting enemy forces. Because of this history, some fans believe his short temper and emotional reaction might represent the psychological effects of war. Although this interpretation is not confirmed, it offers an interesting and more serious perspective on his character. Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown is dying. Charlie Brown is known for being unlucky and constantly facing disappointment. However, one very dark theory claims that Charlie Brown might actually be dying from a serious illness, possibly cancer. According to this idea, the world we see in Peanut's story is actually a dream created by Charlie Brown's mind. His adventures and friendships could represent his imagination trying to cope with sadness of his situation. This theory also suggests that his constant failures and bad luck symbolize his feelings of hopelessness during the final moments of his life. Cartoon Network Shared Universe. Many fans believe that several Cartoon Network shows might exist in the same fictional universe. One theory connects Samurai Jack with the Powerpuff Girls. Supporters of this idea notices that certain backgrounds and landmarks in Samurai Jack look very similar to places in Townsville, the city from the Powerpuff Girls. Because Samurai Jack travels through time, some fans might actually think he might be exploring a future version of Townsville after it had been destroyed or changed over times. The Fairly Odd Parents, Cosmo and Wanda aren't real. A darker interpretation of the Fairly Odd Parents suggests that Timmy Turner's fairy godparents might not actually exist. Instead, they could represent a imaginary coping mechanism that helped Timmy deal with his difficult life. You see, Timmy's parents often ignore him, and his babysitter treats him badly, which could make him feel lonely and unhappy. In this theory, Cosmo and Wanda symbolize Timmy's imagination trying to create happiness and control over his life. Their magical powers represents the wishes and dreams he wishes could be true. Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh mental disorders. One well-known theory suggests that each characters in Winnie the Pooh represents a different mental health condition. Fans notice that the characters show very specific personality traits that could match psychological disorders. For example, Pooh seems impulsive and obsessed with honey. Piglet constantly worries about everything, and Tigger has endless energy and difficulty staying still. Eeyore is clearly depressed and often feels hopeless. Some people believe the story could symbolically represent how children experience different emotional challenges. Pinky and the Brain. Pinky is the genius. Now, I don't know much about this cartoon show either, so I'm gonna give you a synopsis. Pinky and the Brain is an animated television series centered on two genetically enhanced laboratory mice residing in Acme Labs who attempted to take over the world every night. In Pinky and the Brain, Brain is always presented as the intelligent mastermind trying to take over the world. However, one fan theory suggests that Pinky might actually be the smarter one. Although Pinky appears silly, he often makes surprisingly logical observation. Meanwhile, Brain's complicated plans always fail because they are unrealistic or overly ambitious. Because of this, some fans believe that Brain might actually be the irrational one, while Pinky quietly understands the situation better than anyone else. Well, guys, that's it for this video. If you see me taking down this video so many times, and it is because of copyright issues, so I might have to actually test out some things before uploading this video. So, yeah, it's gonna take some time. Subscribe and like this video for more morbid documentaries. Bye.